Geordi, I have taken your suggestion regarding Spot. I have begun training her.
Really?
Yes, I'm studying several new techniques. Next, I plan to explore bioconditioning devices.
Devices?
Such as sensor nets for behavior modification, or biofeedback motivators. Unfortunately, I have been less than successful.
I've got an idea. How about a phaser? A low stun setting at just the right moment might do the trick.
Geordi, I cannot stun my cat. I was kidding, Data.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are Star Trek veterans, and Dory is a newly minted Trekkie. We are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation, continuing on our Season 7 journey. Today we're discussing the episode Force of Nature.
I'm so sorry, by the way.
Original air date is November 13th, 1993, and as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so...
I like the tone in your voice was just like an immediate reaction to what this episode is, and I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. We started off on a pretty good note for me.
That's true.
And then it just got...
It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. Okay, we'll get into it. Okay, so we start off. Data walks into who I initially didn't realize it was Geordi's quarters, and he sees flour and broken vase on the floor. Geordi is crouched down beside his bed, threatening murder to Spot, who is hiding under his bed. So apparently she has broken a vase, a teapot.
By the way, she is a new development. Spot has been male up until this point.
Listen, to each their own.
No, there's a reason for it that you will hate, but that's okay.
Does she have kittens? Don't tell me.
I won't tell you anything.
Okay, so far Spot, she was broken a vase, a teapot, ruined one of Geordi's chairs by using it as a scratching post. She's been coughing up hairballs, and yeah, he's not enjoying this. I also, initially, the second I kind of saw the room, even though I know what Data's room looks like, I didn't immediately clock it as Geordi's. Mm-hmm. But then once I kind of realized, oh, it's Geordi's, I was like, yeah, that does make more sense, because Data would not have a huge-ass crystal just sitting in his room like that. Like, this crystal was massive. So I was like, yeah, but to be fair, Geordi also doesn't seem like a crystal. Like, it doesn't feel like Geordi would be a crystal person either.
Dory, do you know what a JO crystal
Jeff,
is?
come on, man.
Okay, good.
It's, God.
You don't have to explain it. The audience will know. That's what's important.
No.
Google it, guys.
Like no.
I encourage you.
It's, it's some deep internet lore.
Okay. Maggie, you don't have to explain if you don't want to. We can move on.
Yep, move on.
It's only if you want to explain it.
Okay, it comes from, what was it? It was like a Craigslist post?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's basically I'm just gonna paraphrase. It's just a really funny Craigslist post of this guy looking for someone to help charge his JO crystal, and JO stands for jack off. So it's a crystal he charges by jacking off.
And he needs help to charge it.
Needs
to charge that JO energy.
Yeah.
That is so bizarre.
And the best part is, because this is Geordi, he is the perfect person on the ship to actually have a JO crystal.
Also, the original post, the guy includes a selfie, I believe. And he looks exactly like someone who would have a JO crystal.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Geordi was taking Spot for a bit of a test run because he was considering getting his own cat. But Jordy's like, I think I'm good for now. Good choice, Jordy.
Yeah.
And
Because you
but
don't know
he's
how to
also-
prepare your space for a cat, you idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just really bitter about Jordy's attitude with Spot throughout this
Are
episode.
you surprised that,
Yeah,
that
I'm just
Jordy
like-
of every person on the ship would be the one who doesn't like cats?
Yeah, it's like, Jordy, you fundamentally misunderstand cats. That's why this
Yeah,
isn't working out.
And Jordy also, to me, does seem like much more of a dog person.
Yeah.
So, but listen, it's fine. At least he's, self-aware enough to realize this is not the right choice for him.
Yeah.
Remember when he met a
Jordy's
dog
also-
and he kept saying, "Hey, Pooch"?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God, Pooch. Okay, so Jordy is shocked to hear that Spot doesn't respond to any verbal commands, even from Data. Sarcasm.
It's a fucking cat.
Yeah. So Jordy thinks Spot needs to be trained. And I just wrote, in the words of Chapel Roan, good luck, babe.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can train cats, but it's very different from dog training, and you can only train them
Yeah.
so far.
Yes.
Yeah. So Riker then calls senior staff into a meeting at the observation lounge. And, okay, so we're there. Geordi then, before, they're still in his room, and Geordi decides to try to scare Spot from underneath the bed, which was really dumb. And then it just results in her, running out and then something crashing. So, well, Spot is, in the words of Chapel Roan, hot to go. Okay, so Enterprise is investigating the disappearance of the medical transport ship, the Fleming. They were somewhere in the Hikaris corridor, and the search is kind of complicated by unique properties of this particular region of space. Mm-hmm. So the Fleming last contacted Starfleet 4 days ago, and everything was fine. The Hikaris corridor is the only route in this sector which is free of Tetron fields.
Tetrion, I think.
Tetrion, who cares?
Yeah.
No one cares. I don't care.
It's a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
It's the highway to the not danger zone.
Yeah. Yeah, basically it's like the space is just too unstable to travel, to use warp.
Oh.
So there's one corridor where you can get through that patch of space.
Yeah.
All you really need to know.
Yeah, it's 12 light years long, and the Enterprise, they want to do a search. So it's going to be a little difficult. Mm-hmm. So the last ship to enter the corridor was a Ferengi ship, and the Fleming was carrying a supply of rare biometric gel, which is apparently very valuable. And there float the possibility that Ferengi could have hijacked the Fleming, which is you guys,
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
yeah.
Stop trying to make Ferengi the bad guys.
Yeah, and then so Geordi starts doing stuff to the ship. Okay, there's certain stuff in this that was so dumb. Mm-hmm. Of Geordi is in a competition with someone we don't know, but he's a classmate who is a chief engineer on a different ship. Mm-hmm. So,
I noticed this about halfway through the episode, but this episode is very clearly a bottle episode because they go out of their way not to use any other sets.
Yeah, you're right.
yeah. So, yeah, Geordi's we're gonna do this shit because we're gonna increase conversion levels. I don't know. Doesn't fucking matter.
He basically, he has a friendly rivalry with a guy he went to school with. And so he's just trying to one up this dude, being well, I'm the better engineer because I can get, my engines to be more efficient and shit like that.
Yeah. So they tried, Geordi and Data want to try to improve sensor range also. Okay, so then Data is trying to train Spot unsuccessfully, and Data is listing Did I write? Is it devices? I think I wrote devices. He's tried to use, and Jordy jokes about using phasers on stun. And
Jordy,
Data's like,
I
Jordy,
cannot stun
I
my
cannot
cat."
stun my cat.
Yeah.
I
To
love
be
how
fair,
pathetic
Jordy
he
does
looks
not
when he says that.
Yeah. To be fair, Jordy does not sound like he's joking.
No,
Right?
he's-
That's what
he
I
sure
thought
doesn't.
too. But then he's
Yeah.
like, Data, I'm kidding. I wrote, oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck did I mean in this? Okay, so their first stop on, because they're trying to do this change to the ship to improve the whatever, but they're saying something is unbalanced. So they go to their first thing. And it's like, okay, it's not this thing, and then they go to a next thing, and they're like, okay, it is this thing. We got to fix it, but it's like, Data has like talking though that he's read a bunch of stuff, but the common note is that cats are inherently untrainable. Which, like, sure. Jordy insists that it is possible to train a cat, as his sister did it by walking around with a piece of tuna in her blouse for 2 months. So the cat could, like, jump up to her or whatever. And so they end up finding the problem, but it, like, they fix the issue, but it doesn't, like, super do as much, like, fix the thing as much as they wanted it to. So, okay, back, Riker is like, oh, they're picking up another ship ahead on the long-range sensors. So it's a Ferengi transport ship, the one that mentioned earlier that entered. And, like, their systems are down. Power generation is extremely low levels. Life support system functioning at low levels. They scan. There's approximately 450 Ferengi on board. And they can't reach the ship through any, like, communication channel. So Geordi he's like, oh, I can do something to reach them. Meanwhile, they go into tractor range, so if they need to, like, move them closer or whatever. Okay. Worf is detecting power emissions and a weapon setup. So, oh my god, shields up. So then the Ferengi fire at the Enterprise. And then, so then the Enterprise return fire, specifically aiming at the weapon system on the Ferengi ship. Direct hit. Their weapons are now down. So the Ferengi were basically just, like, playing dead. Their ship is fine now. So then they speak to the Ferengi Damon, which I know is the title, but they never said what his actual name is. So
Yeah,
I will
they do.
refer to him as
It
Damon.
starts with a P, but they only say it once.
Oh, okay. Well, I missed it then, but
Yeah, no loss.
so the Ferengi thought that the Enterprise was actually the ones that, like, there's a probe that went by and, like, fucked with their systems, and they thought the Enterprise did that, and so that's why they fired on the Enterprise. But Picard's like, cool. So I guess we'll head out and we can, let your government know where you are for some assistance. But the Damon is like, actually, talking about stuff could be cool though too.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, yeah, bitch. Okay, so the Ferengi comes on board and oh boy, he is talking to Riker and the full head shorter. It's honestly kind of a wild shot.
Yeah.
And so the Damon explains that they detected what appeared to be a Federation signal buoy, that when they approached it, it emitted a massive verteron.
It's some kind of beam that disabled their ship.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, warp, sensors, communication, everything disabled. And so they thought they were the victims of a new Federation weapon. And they also did mention they passed another Federation ship, the Fleming, but, like, that also seemed fine at the time too. So maybe other ships maybe other ships have been, affected by this probe that's been going about doing this shit. And he's like, yeah, my sensor logs maybe showed which way the Fleming went, but I don't know. We're doing all these repairs, so I don't know if we'll have time to look. And Picard's like, well, if we send some people, then you can magically find some time to find out this, check the logs. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. So they do that.
Yeah, it's an unnecessarily weird way to go about this.
Yeah. Okay, so now in Data's quarters, Data is... They're standing by his desk. Spot is on the desk. Data is trying to get Spot off the desk, but he kept saying, like, down, down. But Spot just, like, meows in response. And then Data picks Spot up. Spot looks like a slinky of a cat in this episode. The one, like, Data picks him up and puts her down, whatever. And so Data says, Spot, down. This is down. Down is good. This is up. Up is no.
I love that
Spot
line so much.
Yeah.
Spot is very cute. And she, like, keeps meowing, and it's also very cute. So she does make, like, a noise, and Data is immediately, like, he understands she wants to play, so she plays with some yarn. It's very cute. So Jordy comes in. He's like, I don't know about Spot, but your training is coming along just fine.
Yeah. No, because when Jordy comes in, he's still, like, trying to get Spot to understand, and he's like, up is no, but when Jordy comes in, he puts her down right back on the desk.
Yeah. Data's not the best cat trainer.
Yeah. Listen, I know Data has read up a lot on cat training, but the writers have not.
Yeah.
Because they don't mention clicker training once, which is the main way you train cats.
Okay, so they gotta then put a pin in the cat training for now. So Jordy and Data, I don't know, their power conversion level thing. Jordy is trying to make it so it's above Donald's. It is, I don't know. This is such, like, a side thing that doesn't matter, and it's brought up too many times. It's so stupid.
Yeah,
okay.
I forgot how much B plot there is in this episode.
Okay, so the Enterprise follows the direction from the Ferengi sensor logs to debris field in which they don't know what it's from, but they're like, might be the Fleming, we don't know. It's like maybe from, like, a ship or something. But Data is picking up a small metallic object approaching, and it is emitting an unusual signal, and it's beginning to generate this field, and this means something immediately to Picard. It didn't to mean anything to me initially. He's like, shields up, and he's like, full reverse now, and then there's, like, a white light, and then I was like, oh, it was the probe thing.
Yeah.
I got it. So warp engines are offline, shields are all down, subspace systems are inoperative, and this is the same thing that did stuff to the Ferengi ship also. And then an unidentified ship heading towards them. There's 2 life form on board. They are initiating their transporter system. And then it's so, like, spooky. They're like, we're being boarded, and I'm like, oh god. Yeah, not that big. It was fine. So they're in 2 intruders in engineering. So, okay, we get 2 people. They are in gray suits with, like, big ass lapels, and there's, like, ruffles in random spots on these suits. And I initially, before we learned their names, called them the Graylians. And oh yeah, they're like, they wanted to, like, they're like, you're killing us. I'm like, what? Okay, so in the conference room, so we got Picard, Riker, Geordi, Data, and the Graylians, whose names are actually their siblings. The brother is Rabal, and the sister is Sarova. And according to their research, warp fields cause a dangerous reaction in this region of space. Their planet is already being affected. There's large gravitational shifts throughout their system, and if something isn't done, their planet will be inhabitable. Everyone will die. So Geordi has kind of, like, heard research like this before, and was like, it was evaluated by the Federation Science Council years ago, but it didn't hold up. There wasn't enough there.
Yeah.
So at this point, I actually don't remember who says it, because in my notes I just wrote Graylian.
I just want to point out that this episode
yeah.
is very obviously an allegory, and we'll get to that, but God, is it a heavy-handed allegory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot the name of this episode, and so when before we started recording, and Maggie, you were like, what's the name of this episode again? And I went to the front of my notes, and I was like, Force of Nature, and I was like, oh, fuck me. What? Like, god damn it.
Can we just
that's annoying.
Can we just call our episode, like, whatever fucking Al Gore's book about climate change was.
Oh yeah. Oh, what was it again?
I don't remember.
Oh.
I remember the movie that he did, the
Oh, an
documentary
An
Inconvenient
thing.
inconvenient truth.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. In case you haven't guessed, this is a climate change allegory.
I have a lot of problems with it, but I'll get to those later.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the siblings, I don't know who, says their research was very preliminary. Their original analysis was incomplete when they submitted stuff. And Picard's like, okay, so if you want to be evaluated by the Science Council, like, why didn't you send a request? But they're like, oh, it would take too long, and we like started to disable ships until like Starfleet 1 shows up and to deal with it now. So they are the ones that set up the probe. Riker is really pissed, understandably. And the probe's really fucked with the Enterprise, so they need like 36 hours to fix it. And so then we're still at like, well, then where the fuck is the Fleming? So the Graylians, they know exactly how to fix the ship, and they can do it in 10 hours, but only if you look at their research. And Picard is like, sure, but like priority is finding the Fleming, and the Graylians must deactivate the remaining probes in the corridor, otherwise they will be brought to the brig and delivered to the nearest star base and charged for their crimes. Okay, and then we learned their names, which I wrote in capital letters. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. So then Data is assigned to evaluate the research, and Geordi is kind of annoyed. Sarova has brought the systems back online, but it's going to take like a week for him to recalibrate everything properly. And she's like, wow, well, sorry for the inconvenience, sarcastic. And Geordi's like, sure, whatever. What if the Fleming was responding to an emergency? Then people would have died. And Sarah's like, yeah, but it didn't. And it's like, okay, but like, that's not the point. But Rabal is like, I know my sister's frustrating, but I didn't see her brilliance then, but I see it now. And she says warp drive is dangerous. So the Graylians want to convince Starfleet to stop warp travel through the corridor, and they'll have to convince people to like give up warp drive completely. Hikaris, which is their planet, is the only inhabited world in the region, and they point out without warp drive, they basically will be isolated from everyone else. And they're like, okay. So Data says Sarova and Rabal believe that there are regions of potential subspace instability within the corridor. They believe that if these regions continue to be exposed to warp field energy, they will rupture. Subspace will extend. Oh boy, what did I write? I think extend.
Probably expand or something like that.
I'm not sure.
It almost doesn't matter. It's technobabble.
I think it's extend because I didn't put a P. There's a T, but I didn't. Okay, anyways, I'm going to say extend into normal space, forming a rift. The theory, but their theory, it cannot really be proven at this time. There's insufficient evidence. And so then Data follows up with, in order to determine whether or not a rift will form, a region must be exposed to warp field energy approximately 1 million times greater that normally generated by a starship. Sorbal says that they believe the warp field effect is cumulative, so it just keeps like building and building on top of each other. And so each starship that passed through the corridor at warp brings them one step closer to forming a rift. So Data agrees that this is like definitely a possibility, and thinks the Federation Science Council should send a research vessel to the area, and like a more detailed investigation would resolve many of their questions. But Sarova is like not into this.
She flat out says, oh, the Science Council doesn't have the resources to pay attention to us. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, the science military doesn't have enough resources to go do some science? That's the first time I've heard them say that.
I think what they mean is like in a timely manner. Like, they don't have the resources to, like, they have to prioritize their, like, where they send teams. And by the time they became the priority in the list, like, she just thinks that that's that it would be too late. Like, it would take too long and
Okay,
that
yeah, that's fair.
they're in trouble like right now, sort of thing.
She is consistently throughout the episode shown to be like an alarmist who's like just over the edge about everything.
Yeah, like her whole deal is that like, you know, we need to do something about this now, right now. Otherwise, like, it will...
Yeah.
Like,
She's
we
like,
have... Like, this situation is urgent, whether... that's what she's trying to get across. This situation is urgent.
No, I definitely
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, we need to
She
start making
wants-
changes now.
yeah, she says like we need action right now. We don't need more research. So Riker thinks that they have located the Fleming and long-range sensors, and the Fleming seems to be okay. They're in one piece, but their subspace systems are down. So obviously they were got by the probe.
Yeah.
So Picard's like, great, we will head over when the engines are back online. And then he tells Serova, Rabal, and Data put together a research proposal for the Science Council, and they have Picard's full support. Rabal is on board, Serova is not. She like walks out and she's like, it's another delay tactic. Which like I don't agree with that. I think Picard like is genuinely, I don't know if this is just like they decided to make her character so unbelievably stubborn, but this isn't a delay tactic. This is him going through.
Yeah.
Like a delay tactic would be lying to her and like making up shit so like it doesn't come. But like it feels like Picard does actually.
So Dory, I agree with that, but let's hold off on our opinions
Yeah.
about her until a
Yeah.
little later because it's going to launch an entire discussion about what this allegory
Yes.
means.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. Okay. At this point, I did write a little commentary for myself, but I'll skip that. So okay, engines are back online. Serova just like then gets into the shuttle alone. So Rabal wants to talk to her, and so up on the monitor, she's like, they wanted proof. I'm sorry. And she is trying to create a warp core breach, and she's going to kill herself to prove her point, basically.
That's
She's
reasonable.
going to cause a rift rather than wait. So she's successful in both making a rift and dying. Sorry, that was a weird way to put it.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, rift, honestly, the rift to me kind of looked like a space flower. It's kind of pretty. So Data says, yeah, this is emitting extremely high levels of Tetron radiation. And yeah, basically her research was correct. This is what will happen, subspace rift. And now the Fleming has now been sucked into the rift too. So Picard asks Rabal if it's possible for the ship to survive going in the rift, but he's like, I don't fucking know. Like they haven't happened yet. This is the first time this has happened, so they don't really know what's going to happen. So lots of ship shaking in this episode. It looked very silly.
Sure did.
So then we get these like distortion waves that are generated from within the rift, so it like makes everything shake. And we learned that the shield will, like the Enterprise shields will fail within 12 hours. And they can't use warp without like making the rift worse. So they now have to, so Data, Geordi, and Rabal have to study the rift to come up with a solution to get to the Fleming out, but without using warp, but not having it take weeks.
Yeah.
So they haven't really found a lot of solutions really, and they're not really sure what to do. But Data then asks Rabal if there are any spots of stability in the rift that they could maybe use warp, somewhere they could possibly use warp, but in the scan they don't find that. But then Geordi spots something that Data's like, that's impossible. It's an instability outside the rift, which I don't think we ever go back to that. Or maybe I missed it.
No, I don't think we do. I think it's
Because like they make it pointed out, so I thought it was going to be important, but then I don't recall them ever. They're just like, that's impossible, and then they just continue on.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think they do go back to that. I think it might be implied, like, I think what they're going for is implying that there's already another instability forming, like that. that maybe that was already there or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
They didn't do a good job of explaining that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Data suggests to Picard and Riker that the Enterprise should just kind of like coast into the rift. So they should initiate a brief high intensity warp pulse and then from their current position, and they just kind of like will coast right in. And this way they have like the force they need without actually using warp. And this way they can get close enough, they can beam the Fleming, the crew off the Fleming, and then exit. And they just, keep going at velocity and they should be fine. And Picard's like, great, sounds wonderful. So, but then Geordi is really in his feelings about what happened with Serova, because he's like, Data, between you and me, how could we not like figure all this shit out about like we're warp engine people? How did we not like think about this? And I'm like, how would you possibly know this though? That's the thing. I think Geordi being very like, a lot of the rest of this episode with Geordi is him being like, how did we not know this? I can't believe it. I feel so bad. No. How would anyone notice this?
Yeah, they did flat out like they did point out the fact that she what's her nut is like extremely smart about this and is like super science about this, but also that her theories were fringe and they needed a lot more exploration.
Yeah, like there was no proof of any of this. So like Geordi, but Data does talk him down, but I'm like, Geordi, you would not have known.
I don't want to get too deep into this, but I just really need to make this point, is that for the allegory they're doing, is that like, because in this episode they express that it's like, oh, there's not enough evidence of this yet. This is a fringe theory, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, at the time, they're probably still using the term global warming, but the climate science shit was not fringe.
No, we're definitely going to get into that. I have a lot of thoughts, so but let's hold off.
We'll get deeper into it later, but I just want to say, because of what you're saying about Geordi, it's like, oh, how could we as like experts in this field not notice this? And it's like, that doesn't work for the allegory, because climate scientists all, like, it wasn't a fringe thing. Climate scientists knew that this was happening. Like, they were trying to raise the alarm. This was, like, this was not fringe. This was, like, a pretty well-established thing in climate science. Anyway.
In fact, before that even happened, I believe we banned what is it? CFLs? Is it? No, or CFL's the one that's currently causing the problem. Or maybe not. I don't know. There was something that got banned like 35 years ago. Yeah. And it got banned extremely fast, and it actually made a difference.
Yeah, because I believe like because what they're doing is making a parallel between the holes in the ozone layer.
Yeah, they are.
Because that would have been the big thing at the time. Mm-hmm. And that was like when we banned whatever was in like hairspray and shit.
Yeah, it was an aerosol of some kind.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So yeah, Data's like, yeah, we weren't really wrong, because again, it was all theories. There wasn't any provable anything in this moment, and Data says that she used methods only that reputable scientists would never employ. Yeah, because most scientists don't really,
blow themselves up.
I was gonna say die on this hill, but yeah.
I mean, she did.
She
almost
she
literally
did.
like die on this hill. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember saying like they do basically everything but die on the hill, and she literally died on the hill.
Yeah.
So Geordi's like, we should have listened to her, but Data is like, we literally did all we could fucking do with the data that we had, man. Like, I don't know what else, like, this, yeah. We'll go into it after. But Geordi's like, I wish that I would have seen this shit sooner. Yeah, it just, okay. So Geordi goes to see Rabal in 10 forward, and Geordi is like, sorry, man, maybe we missed something. Rabal's like, no, you didn't miss anything. Like, the real issue was time. They needed more time to prove the research, but Serova wasn't willing to wait. And then this is when I wrote warp drive equal climate change.
Yep.
That's when I caught on. But Ball is like, yeah, things need to change regarding warp drive. And Jordy's like, sure, but that's going to be super fucking hard. And Ball's like, yeah, for sure, but we got to fucking do it.
Because he's like, Starfleet, like, we're dependent on warp drive and all that sort of stuff, which is obviously an allegory to, like, our dependence on cars and shit.
Yep.
And oil.
Okay, so now, we're ready to go rescue the Fleming. So they do their pulse, they're gliding into the rift. Worf is picking up some power emissions from the Fleming. They might be initiating warp drive. Uh-oh. And so I just wrote, I'm assuming everyone explodes if the Fleming activates warp drive. They don't. But then the Fleming does initiate their warp drive, but their ship is super damaged. But the Enterprise look a little bit damaged. But the rift then increased by 2.3%. So that actually changes the momentum. Like they had a certain amount, like they thought would be able to get out, but now it's bigger. So what the momentum they calculated is no longer valid. So they're kind of just like stuck in there right now. So now they take they're slowly like getting transporting the Fleming crew onto the Enterprise, and hull stress is reaching maximum tolerance. And then they're getting these, as I mentioned earlier, distortion waves that are like popping through. And Geordi's like, hey, when was the last time you guys went surfing? Literally a question he asks Riker. And he wants to just like ride a distortion wave out of the rift. And everyone, they're like, okay, let's give it a go, I guess. So,
Ghost ride
first
the
try. Yeah, so first try, they are not successful. The second try, so then they make some changes and they're able to catch that wave. And also like
Oh, I don't know why that hit me so hard right now. Good job, Dory.
Thanks. And yeah, they're kind of riding it out, but they need like a bit of a push, so they put a lot of power into the ship and give like a little boost from their own themselves. And everything is really like the ship breach is imminent. Things are really bad. And things are shaking. And I did note they should install like bars in certain places, like so you could hold on to shit, because we know stuff shakes.
Yeah.
Or like, why aren't people wearing seatbelts?
Yeah.
Because it's not like Picard, they have to like ever run up and jump out of their seats. They're all like, once they're in a seat, they're kind of in there until they decide, I'm going to get up now.
Yeah.
It's like, why
The
not they wear
captain's chair
seatbelts?
finally gets a seatbelt in Star Trek 10.
Yeah.
Party.
Also.
Oh wait, actually
like,
they might have cut that scene.
they established that like the ship has inertial dampeners, so like that technically should prevent the like them shaking all around and shit.
Yeah, but it's less dramatic that way.
True.
Okay, so they bump their way out of this rift, and Enterprise, and the Enterprise is going to continue their research while the Federation Council studies their preliminary report on the subspace rift. So we get, is this the bridge crew meeting? We get the whole bridge crew together. And I love it. So Geordi says that like the scans show there are like a lot of subspace instabilities throughout the sector, and if they're exposed to enough warp, then more rifts could be made.
Oh,
So,
I think that's sorry. Now that
is that
you
its own
mentioned
thing?
No, now that you mention that, I think that's what they were saying when they were like, "Oh, there's an instability outside the rift." I think what they
Oh,
were
there's an additional one?
Yeah, I think what they were trying to
yeah, that
Oh,
tracks.
okay.
Yeah, what they were
Gotcha,
trying
gotcha,
to do
gotcha.
is that like that's when they noticed that there's more like unstable regions than what they thought, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Rabal presents that they're able to predict where rifts are most likely to be formed over the next 40 years, and then new directive from Federation Council. Bear with. Okay. So new directive. Until we can find a way to counteract the warp field effect, the Council feels it is our best course is to show the damage to slow the damage as much as possible. Therefore, areas of space found susceptible to warp fields will be restricted to essential travel only, and effective immediately, all Federation vessels will be limited to a speed of warp 5, except in cases of extreme emergency. Now, bear with me even more, because when I looked at the time, there was like a couple minutes left, so I thought we were basically done.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote in the margins so utterly poorly and then the top of the page, and there was still more that I had to make a note that I went back to a different page to write in their margins. So bear with, because I now have to pick it up and turn it around. Okay. Then Worf is immediately like, oh, the Klingons will be on board for this, but the Romulans will not. And then Troy's like, what about the Ferengi and even the Cardassians? But Picard's like, the Federation is sharing their data with all warp-capable say that's a tongue twister. Mm-hmm. Warp-capable species, and hopefully they will implement their own actions. And then Dr. C points out, hey, what the fuck do we do with the open rift now?
Yeah.
And basically they're like, nothing. We don't fucking know. But Raval says that his planet is already like affected, and their climate change is going, their gravitational pull, their orbit, their shit is already, affected. And Picard's like, the Federation is sending stuff to help you. Okay. God, now we're going to a different page. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then everyone leaves, and now it's just Picard and Geordi. And Picard says, Geordi, I've spent a better part of my life exploring space. I've charted new worlds, I've met dozens of new species, and I believe that they were all valuable ends in themselves. And now it seems that all this while I was helping to damage the thing that I hold most dear. Sorry, I wrote really poorly. I had a hard time reading what I wrote there. So that was very poignant, and then the episode ends. Now, climate change.
An important thing. Geordi says, well, like, the good thing is we have time to fix it. Which, sitting where we are really. Now...
Yeah, it's like, that's cute.
Because in the meeting, the guy was like, this is how bad it will be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, in 40 years. And it shows the distortions getting bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're 30 years from this episode. And, it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah. We're pretty much at like the
rifts are opening. The rifts have been opened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Gaping.
Before I
rifts.
get into why the allegory is bad, I want to point something out about the plot. Mm-hmm. And that is when she suicides to create a problem to prove to them that she's right. But the problem that she creates is the exact sort of thing that she was trying to prevent in the first place. And it ends up affecting her planet anyway, which is like, okay, that's like opposing nuclear weapons, and then in order to prove that nuclear weapons are bad, you set off nuclear weapons. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't... You're not actually helping. You have caused the problem that you're trying to prevent. Good job. I understand the ideology behind it, and let's face it, this episode is about, as much as it's about the allegory, it uses eco-terrorism as a vessel for carrying that allegory. Eco-terrorism is not really a thing. Like, it exists, but not in numbers that are actually significant in any way. It is a blip on the tiny fucking radar. And in the 1990s, I understand it was something that people were alarmist about. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because, like, the Greenpeace and whatnot was, like, I don't know, blockading ships or something like that. But it's Greenpeace. You can just go around them.
Yeah, because also, like, violent eco-protests are not... Like, I can't even think of one.
No, that's because they don't happen.
Yeah.
So it was alarmism, and I get it. It was the 1990s. It was a very different time in terms of like our approach to climate change and all of that. Like we grew up, we're all of the age that we grew up learning about climate change in school and learning about what the ideas about it were then and 5 years before then, because that's what was current for when we were in school.
Yeah.
And like all of this tracks for that. But the problem, and this is something that some, not everyone, but some people knew back then, the problem is that the episode frames the actual issue as something that, in general, people just don't notice.
Yeah.
And that is horribly wrong, because
Yeah.
we have so many examples throughout the 1900s, specifically the 1900s, probably before that too, but in the 1900s specifically, of companies making money off of something that is bad for people and then desperately trying to cover it up for decades,
Yeah.
successfully, and often with government support,
Yeah.
in order to hide the problem.
One of the biggest examples of that, and Jeff, maybe you were going to bring this up, but is lead.
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
Like,
Yep.
companies knew for... I'm not sure if
50
it was
years.
Yeah, they knew for 50 years that lead was bad and that lead was toxic and it was poisoning people. And, like, the guy who, like, whistleblowed about all of this and got it, like, got us to eventually, like, take lead out of, like, paint and shit was just absolutely horrified when he found out that, like, they knew it was bad. I think, like...
Yep.
And, yeah, I think, like, cigarette companies also knew that thing that they caused cancer, like, way before anyone else, and they hid it and all that shit. And-
The example I always think of is the Radium Girls, if you know what that is.
Yeah, yeah. That's for the watches, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so what they were... the example Jeff gave is what these factory workers, these women, would paint the faces of watches, and the paint was like a glow-in-the-dark paint, and it was made with radium. And to get the brushes, like, really, like, sharp...
Pointy.
Yeah, to get them really pointy and sharp, they would lick them. Right? And the company knew that this shit was dangerous, and they didn't tell them to take any safety precautions.
Even better than that, they knew it was dangerous to the extent that the employees who were actually handling the radium, like prior to it arriving at the factory and all of that, they were all taking, like, ridiculous amounts of precautions.
Yeah, but they never
But
told...
the factory workers, they were just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter for them because they're just shitty factory workers.
Yeah, and, like, and women also.
Well, yes.
And so, yeah, obviously, these women ended up horribly irradiated with, like, severe health problems. and all
Yep,
this
several of
stuff.
them died.
Yeah, so all this shit... So this episode presents this issue as an issue that doesn't have enough proof, wherein the allegory they're making of climate change had lots of proof already and had lots of support from mainstream scientists and scientific community.
And
So-
as we already mentioned, there had been laws that had already been enacted in the United States and in, like, the UK and, like, across the West. It was like back-to-back conservative governments who were enacting these laws too, which
Yeah.
is even more surprising.
Yeah. So, like, that's the problem isn't that we didn't have enough proof of climate change. Because also I remember I've seen, like, pictures of articles from, like, the early 1900s where they mention, like, what's the term? Like climate change that was, like, caused by humans.
Yeah.
You know, so this is an issue that was known. You know, so that's why, like, because the main thing, the thing that's gonna take time, right, is, like, the thing that we should have started back in the fucking 80s at least, is, like, research and time to like shift over our dependence, to like transition out of it, you know, transition our dependence on oil and all that shit. It wasn't that we didn't know it was happening.
I think the other issue, and as I mentioned a bit earlier, is that this episode really does frame the problem as something that everyday people were doing.
Yeah.
And we, at least now, it's very easy to find out that the majority of chemicals that cause, or chemicals and pollution that causes climate change is not by, regular people going elbows up and, everything's coming up Millhouse, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
It's not from you buying an electric car or whatever the fuck. It's not personal responsibility. The majority of pollution and damage to the environment is being caused by the actions of massive corporations.
Yeah.
And
like,
I think transportation accounts for something like 14% of the pollution that's causing greenhouse gas issues.
Yeah, everyone no one ever using a plastic straw again will not even make a dent in what, like, even just the the pollution that, like, dyeing fabric creates.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Your personal, like, even the cumulative effect of each person individually making, like, more eco-friendly choices will not even touch the damage that, corporations do,
and they'll probably
in terms of how bad they pollute.
They'll probably increase what they're doing in order to offset it anyway, so there we go.
Also, like, it's just making, like, what's eco-friendly isn't, like, it's so complicated in terms of, like, oh, will this actually make a difference? Like, one example is that, like, I think they did some research and that glass bottles, like, aren't necessarily any more eco-friendly than plastic bottles, just because of, like, certain processes and supply chains and all this, like, complicated shit.
Yeah, I mean, there's things like it adds to transportation costs because they're heavier and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
so
you're
there's a lot of
more
things to consider.
fuel and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Here in, I can't remember if this is a Canada-wide thing or if this is just Ontario. Like, grocery stores, like, don't have plastic bags anymore. But instead of everyone having, like, reusable bags all the time, like, obviously, like, you forget, right? So you have to pick up, like, those new bags that they have that are technically reusable, but they're, first of all,
usually quite bad.
Yeah. First of all, they're shit, right? And I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like those really shitty fabric bags are probably, like, they're probably not any better for the environment than plastic bags were.
They're actually worse because they're heavier, but they are plastic. They're polyester.
Yeah, they're plastic anyway,
Yeah.
And at least like a traditional plastic bag will, like, it'll, like, rip and tear and, sort of just, it takes up less space, like.
But also, plastic bags, we have other uses for them that we don't for, like, we use them for garbage all the time. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, landfills are bad too, but better all that shit is in one place, I guess. Whereas now we're getting the opposite problem because people aren't throwing out those bags because they paid more for them.
Yeah, and those bags, like, with a traditional plastic bag, like, when I'm done bringing my groceries home, that's now my bathroom garbage bag,
Yeah, same.
And, like, you can't use, like, those fabric ones for that.
Nope.
Like, it's just, yeah, the situation is, like, more complicated than just, switching what kind of grocery bag you use. right?
So
it has to be a huge systemic thing. It like, yeah, it's just sorry, go ahead.
The thing about us banning CFLs and whatnot, and like the Clean Air Act back in the 1980s, and all of those like changes that we made in order to reduce ozone holes, which did actually work.
Yeah.
The thing is that that legislation was not all encompassing to like a massive amount of industries. It was the kind of thing that we could enact. They were very convenient scapegoats that looked like, oh, well, these couple of small problems will fix everything. And I mean, obviously it didn't fix everything, but the problem is that now the changes that we need to make are actually massive and systemic rather than in just a couple of industries. And so we've run into this major problem where we've got a culture war going on about it.
Yeah.
And you've got a disconnect between people who think that it's an issue that we can just go over by buying electric cars, and an issue that a lot of people realize, no, you can't like actually fix that. We need to like force changes on corporations. And then there's the people who say, no, this isn't actually a problem at all. So you've got these like three separate camps on it, and it's like very different approaches to the same problem. And I always think back to something that I learned about a couple of years ago, which is the exact same bullshit about recycling. Now, I don't know, Maggie, if you remember, Dory, if you remember, when we were young, we had recycling pushed on us in school. The 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, so much. Recycling was literally propaganda by plastic companies. I'm not saying recycling is bad. At the time that recycling was introduced, like as a concept in the 1970s, 1980s, specifically like recycling programs in cities didn't want to do it because it was too expensive. So these corporations said, okay, we're going to build plastic recycling plants. What they didn't tell any of the cities that they did it for, because they did it on their dime, and then the cities took it over eventually, is that the amount of plastic that could be recycled was something like 5%.
Yeah.
And it was going to cost way more to maintain because of the amount of different kinds of plastics there are. Up here in Toronto, there are some like very common plastics actually that we still don't recycle because we just don't have the facilities for it.
Yeah,
and
there was a recent thing about like how you can't actually recycle black plastic.
Yeah, well, that's specifically here.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is that this was something that was heavily funded as a PR campaign, and it wasn't sustainable, and the plastic companies knew this, but they, A, pushed it onto everyone, B, had governments pushed it onto everyone as part of their agreement for building the plastic recycling facilities in the first place, and C, it didn't actually make a huge difference in terms of the actual recycling because they weren't producing enough of the plastic that could be recycled anyway.
Yeah.
So you've got this huge thing about personal responsibility, and they don't tell you how little of a difference you are making. I am actually at the point now where when I like accidentally throw out plastic and whatnot, I have managed to like push out of my brain, no, you have to recycle that. If you don't, then you're going to be like, you're going to be causing a problem. Because that's something that I had ingrained to me as a child. And my dad is 100% like that. My mom not so much. She doesn't care. But but my dad is, because he's a big hippie. And you've got this like idea that's embedded in collective consciousness between anyone who's like even vaguely left-wing or centrist and whatnot, and even some people on the right that are just like, no, we have to recycle. And it's fucking worthless. It's better now than it was, but not by a lot.
Yeah, basically, when you recycle, you're basically just giving it to a different, like, they just throw it out as well.
Yeah, the majority of it gets thrown out.
Yeah, it's just a middleman between it ending up in the same fucking landfill as thing. Also, they did not give a good... another big factor is that people weren't taught on a large enough scale that you have to actually wash your shit before you throw it in the recycling bin, because
Yes.
otherwise they can't recycle the dirty plastic, or it has to go through a cleaning process, which is just more like bad shit for the environment.
Yep. But by the way, if anyone is interested in reading the article, that is a really excellent teardown. It came out in September 2020. It was published on NPR, and it's called "How Big Oil Misled the Public into Believing Plastic Would Be Recycled." And it's basically a 30-year history of plastic recycling being stupid.
Yeah, and in case like anyone's unaware, plastic is made from oil, like it's a petroleum product.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, yeah, and going back to your point about like all the laws and stuff that like made a difference, you'll notice that the laws that like actually made an actual fucking difference were towards manufacturing and corporations,
Yes.
Like when we were kids, I remember we had smog days.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah, we had smog days, right? And I don't remember the last time there was a fucking smog day.
There was actually one here last summer, I believe.
Yeah.
They're
But that was
relatively uncommon now.
Yeah, but that was the first one in a long fucking time. I remember it being
Yeah.
a common occurrence during the summer.
Yeah,
And you
it
kn-
was.
and you know what-
So that's what the Clean Air Act basically fixed.
Yeah, and that's what, what made the biggest difference is having emissions standards for cars, having to
Yes.
do emissions testing. That's not a personal responsibility thing. That is the way you build cars has to be different now.
Yes.
Like the way we fix the holes in the ozone layer, being like, okay, you are not allowed to make hairspray with this chemical anymore. That's not a personal responsibility thing. That's
The
like,
other important thing about that, and this is like this is part of the same point, is that it was unprecedented the amount of countries that went in on that all at the same time.
yeah.
That was massive.
The way we fixed the lead problem was forcing companies to not put lead in their shit anymore. Like,
Yep.
that's not a personal responsibility. We didn't fix the lead problem by everyone being like, well, I'm just going to buy lead-free paint from now on. Like, no. We're like, no more lead in paint ever.
All paint
Like-
will be lead free.
Yeah. Like, the way we fixed it is like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should get rid of lead pipes. Big systemic things. And they made a difference very quickly. Like,
Yep.
even though there are still areas of like, there's still areas where there are lead issues, like I'm thinking Flint and all that shit.
Yes.
Like the how fast we fixed the lead issue is incredible. Like it because we joke about boomers having like the lead paint stare and all that stuff. Like that's just our parents. Like we fixed that within a generation.
Well, okay, some of it actually started before that, and
Yeah,
I'll give
yeah.
you an excellent example of that, because in Toronto specifically, there were laws enacted, I believe in the 1930s, that it might have been the 1920s, which forced any new apartment building to not use lead piping at all.
Yeah. But like, okay, within 2 generations, but that's still a very quick turnaround, right?
It is,
The
you're right.
fact that I remember because I remember smog days when I was going to high school, because I remember the bus I took to get to the subway went over this bridge and you could see downtown, and I could judge like how humid it was going to be downtown by how like hazy shit looked.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
Yep.
I remember seeing the smog and shit. So that was me as like a preteen, early teenager, and like now we're to a point where like when a smog day happens, that's like news that it's smoggy, so like we can do this shit relatively quickly. but like it just takes the will to like actually, make the big systemic changes and to actually tell corporations to go fuck themselves and do shit right. And bringing it back to the episode, one of the other points I wanted to make was that like why this allegory doesn't work is the problem was never that there wasn't enough evidence that these things were impacting the climate or anything like that. It was people's unwillingness to listen to the evidence that there was.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Like, and they got some of that in this episode of people's like unwillingness to like look at the research, like a little tinge of it, like with they tried to do it with Geordi being like resistant to the idea, but like everyone else in the episode, like Picard was like, oh no, we'll look into this, we'll take this seriously, that sort of thing, which is the exact opposite problem. Is that like the major authorities were not and still are not willing to listen to the evidence that is there. So yeah, it's just they kind of flubbed the allegory on this, and they did. Yeah.
And I do recognize that a big portion of that is the time period, and another big portion of that is that these guys are not like deep in leftist discourse. They were, general like Democrat vote liberals of, the 1980s, 1990s.
Mm-hmm. And I do respect that they were, even though like the whole eco-terrorist thing was like kind of propaganda, I do respect that they tried to be like kind of like on the side of the eco-terrorists that didn't actually exist, but
yeah,
they were like, like, even though the problem wasn't real, they were still like, they thought it was real, and they were like, well, these people are desperate, and they really think that we are in serious danger, so, maybe they're not like as, they tried to be on their side,
yes,
even
like,
though they had
I think,
yeah.
I think that in the end, this episode is a message episode, and I mean, from the background, they actually very much intended to tell this message actually several seasons before, and it just kept falling apart. And now they finally got inspired to do it.
Yeah.
And this is what we got out of it. They prioritized the message above all else. Mm-hmm. And apparently once they wrote like the message part of the episode, they were running extremely short. So they wrote the Data's cat part, and they wrote the Geordi's competition with the other guy part. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, but then you guys didn't resolve either of those. So
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. They meant well, but they didn't really fully understand what the actual issue is.
Yeah. I agree with the message.
Yeah.
They told the message badly.
Yeah. They definitely did.
What else is new?
Yeah. Because it definitely, like, it came from a place of someone's understanding of the issue is only through, the propaganda about it.
Yeah.
But
through, mainstream media of the 1990s, which, I mean, that tracks.
I think though that also says something that, like, even though they're looking at it through this, like, propagandized version, they're still like, oh no, but this is still a real problem though.
Yes.
It's like they're still looking at it from like a distorted perspective, but even through that distorted perspective, they're like, oh, well, no, that's still bad though.
The thing is, what's important to remember about Star Trek doing allegory, and it does do allegory, not all the time, but I mean, when it's this blatant, then okay, fine. But if you go back to an episode like Let That Be Your Last Battlefield in the original series, which, Dory, that's an episode where they meet these two aliens, and each of the aliens is black on one side of their face, but white on the other side of their face.
Yeah, like they're painted literal, like one half like solid black, one half solid white.
Yeah, it's extremely heavy-handed, but the allegory that they go for is racism is bad, because they talk to one of the aliens and he's like, so, I mean, can't you see how this guy's an inferior breed? And there's just like, I don't understand. Why? And he's like, he's black on the right side of his face. And that was the thing. Which side of the face they were black on and which side of the face they were white on. So that was the big deal.
Yeah.
And Kirk and Spock look at each other like, why does that matter?
Yeah.
And like that's the whole point. It's to take something like racism and trivialize the idea that it's something that should be taken seriously, and I like that.
Yeah.
But that's a much more broad issue that they're going for, because they're tackling people think this is bad, so how can we look at it as a good thing? And they did that by showing how absurd the this is bad idea is.
Mm-hmm.
But in the episode that we just watched, the problem is they're going for something that's way more direct, and that is not a good idea. Like, they're both told extremely heavy-handedly and very, very directly, but their actual topic of conversation, the allegory that they've chosen, there's too much to consider here.
Yeah. I'm not sure I fully agree with that. I mean, I do think that that's a factor. I think one of the main issues, like as we've been talking about, is that the fundamental like misunderstanding of what the issue is.
Oh no, that's
because,
what I think like the primary cause is. But
yeah.
They also fumbled their own idea of what the allegory is.
Yeah.
By going for the eco-terrorism angle and her blowing up a nuke to prove that nukes are bad.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because we look back on that that episode of the original series of like as very ham-fisted, which it is, right?
It is.
But I think I still think that the way they did it was clever, in that difference was so subtle and arbitrary that the audience would not notice it, right? They cleverly picked a thing that the audience would not notice to show how arbitrary our like the fact that we care about race is, right?
Yes, okay, that's a good point.
So I think they just didn't do like the allegory wasn't like, because first of all, they're doing the allegory like that's my thing. They're doing the allegory from a place of like not understanding what the main issue is. The main issue with the original series episode is like the main issue they're tackling is that like these differences are fucking arbitrary and it's stupid to care about it, right?
Yes.
In this episode, it's like this thing that like we're super dependent on is actually causing damage and we need to deal with it. And we have to get going on that right now, because it's, you know, it's not super threatening right now, but it's going to be if we don't start making changes right now. But they tackled it from the angle of like, you know, you know, we don't have a lot of proof of this yet, but you should listen to us.
Which was a very bad idea.
Yeah, which is not the problem.
Yeah. Like, if they wanted to do a heavy-handed allegory, okay, great. They shouldn't have veered too much off from what is actually known and realistic about it.
Yeah.
In that case.
Yeah, because
they should have been ham-fisted all the way.
Yeah, because what they're trying to say to the audience is like, and you know, maybe this is what they're now thinking about. Maybe this is what I was trying to do, is that like the general audience, would not have been informed enough to be like, for the general audience at the time, they would have not seen that there was a lot of evidence, you know. To the general audience, they would have been like, oh, there isn't really enough evidence of this, right? So maybe, like, thinking about it, maybe that's what they're getting at. They're trying to tell the audience, like, hey, you don't see a lot of evidence of this, but trust us, there is, and, like, you should get on board.
Yeah, okay, that is a good point.
But
That is a good point, because like in the end, the idea of a message show is not to preach to the choir. It's
Yeah.
to try to convert people,
yeah, because
change their way of thinking.
yeah, because I guess I mean, I guess it's like, you know, but yeah, still, it just doesn't. Maybe that's what they're going for, but it still doesn't work, I don't think.
No, I don't think it works yet either, but I do think that is a good way of thinking about it. It's giving them the biggest benefit of the doubt that we can.
Yeah. It's just because the reason I don't think it works is because they're not talking to, like, the general public. They're talking to, like, people who are also scientists who would understand this shit, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they didn't have people in their crew, in like the production crew who weren't what do you call it, in touch with scientific experts, because that's where they got a lot of their ideas for like adding new lore, or new scientific lore to Star Trek. They, you know, discussed things with science experts, or what do you call it? Or learn things out of like scientific, well, not journals, but like, you know, popular mechanics for scientists kind of stuff, like Planetary Society.
Yeah.
And like that sort of thing was a really good avenue for them to add and expand on the universe. Maybe not in this case to, you know, focus an entire episode on.
Yeah. I just, like, realizing now that this was probably a bottle episode, I see why they wouldn't have gone this angle, but if you'd had a thing where, like, the scientists were trying to convince, like, their own planet of this stuff and they just refused to listen, that would, I think, be more, like, I think that would, like, get the message across more. That would be, like, more of a comparison. Because I think
I'd agree with that.
That would also be the same vein as that original series episode where our crew is like, this is an obvious problem. How are you guys not, you know, accepting this?
Yep. There's actually 2 episodes in Voyager about environmentalism that both tackle it from that perspective instead, and it was a way better idea.
Yeah. Anyway, this climate change corner.
Yes. Dory, how did you like the USS Fleming?
I mean, there was nothing to find. We never saw it.
Exactly. Speaking of it being a bottle episode, we literally didn't see the one thing that they were there to do, apparently.
Oh, yeah, true.
We got to see a Ferengi, but not the people they were there to save. Great.
Yeah, also...
That is the first time that we've seen a Ferengi ship in God knows how fucking long, though.
Honestly, thinking about it now, I'm fucking angry at how much B-plot there is. Because...
And C-plot.
Yeah, because of how big and complicated of an issue they're trying to do a message about is. How are you that short on an episode that tackles an issue this complicated?
Yep. There's plenty that they could have done, and I'm not going to speculate on like what better ideas would have been, but this is something that had been kicking around for a very long time, and they never managed to get it to work. It was always part of another episode, and actually the best sounding one was going to be a Geordi focused episode in which the other part of the episode was him going to his sister and bringing the news of and dealing with the death of his mother.
Interesting.
And I'm like, wow, that would have been a way better sounding episode.
Yeah. But I'm just like, how do you have why do you need so much filler in your fucking climate change episode?
So
there's more than enough
apparently-
there for an episode.
Apparently, what happened is the idea. It was originally called Limits, and it was a Joe Menosky idea. Which, I mean, he's pretty good at ideas like that. But it had been kicking around for a while, and they never found a way to make it work. It was part of several episodes that actually did eventually get made and got dropped in early scripting. And what ended up happening in this season is, for some reason, some of the writers had some meeting with some like environmental ambassadors or something like that, and got inspired and came and like wrote it out real quickly. And I'm just like, sorry, you were inspired by that meeting, and this is what we fucking got out of it? What? Where's the inspiration?
Yeah.
So I'm extremely disappointed by the behind-the-scenes info on this episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've probably exhausted what to say about it. If anyone else is,
I mean, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but honestly, it took me, this might have been one of the longest period of time it took for me to watch an episode.
It's extremely
in a
dull.
while. I was gonna say, it was unbelievably boring.
Yeah.
It took maybe 9 hours.
I think I'm gonna downgrade this episode to do not watch in my watch list.
This is always a skip for me.
Okay, good, because I was like, this was a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
Like-
a struggle for me too.
It literally took maybe a total of 9 hours to get through this 45-minute episode, because it did not, even like the stuff, it was just like boring. And I thought initially that like the way that sort of everything just kind of flowed into everything at the beginning, I was like, okay, this could potentially be a vibe. And then it just like, it felt truly like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But even though like in theory, like this is like a major turning point, I would think, because not being able to like warp past warp 5 anymore, because it goes to what, 9 or something like that, to me seems like it would be actually a pretty big deal. This is like kind of a game changer of an episode, but I don't know if it actually
warp
is
scale
that.
is exponential, Dory.
Oh,
so warp 1 is the speed of light, essentially. Warp 2 is double the speed of light. Warp 3 is double warp 2. Warp 4 is double, and it just keeps going up, but it exponentially grows. And as you get into the 9s, the differences between 0.1 and 0.2 are absolutely like massive. So like by the time that, I think the top speed of the ship is something like warp 9.7 or something like that. By the time you get to Voyager, it's 9.975 or something like that, and that's something like twice as fast as 9.7. It's like really extreme.
Yeah.
But that said, while this is an issue that they deal with for a little while, they eventually decide they don't want to deal with it anymore, and they write their way out of it in like offhand dialogue.
Yeah. Also, okay, this is fake science bullshit, but I wanna rant about their plan to like drift through the rift. That
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that wouldn't work, because the way
It's not how warp works.
Yeah, the way warp works is the ship does not have velocity. The way warp works is that the ship isn't actually moving. The ship is warping space around itself. So
it's bending time and space to reach where it needs to reach, technically.
Yeah, so you can't like go to warp, turn off the engines, and then continue to drift. Like the ship doesn't have momentum. It can't do that. That's not how it works.
Yep, that's right.
So and listen, it's a sci-fi show. They sort of change that shit according to like convenience for the plot. Just
Can they beam through the shields? Can they not beam through the shields? Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just like, and I know it's fake, but I'm just like, no, the way we've established that warp works, that's not how shit. That's not. You wouldn't be able to do that. I'm sorry. Your plan is impossible. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I do have one other thing that I just, like, I had a note that what was very frustrating with Serova is the way that she just was so, like, listen, the way that she truly had no patience. Like, listen, I get about being passionate about something, but the way that she treated everybody else for not immediately believing her and jumping on board with something that she herself could not prove until she fucking died.
Yeah.
And the way that she expected everyone to just be on board and was, like, upset that people were listening and were like, yeah, we are definitely, like, I found it very frustrating.
Yeah.
Of just the way she just jumped in like that. Like, she was like, everyone is stupid, everyone, it's delay tactic, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you have to, get to a certain, you do have to have some understanding that the people you want them to help you, they're not saying no, they just want to get more information before they start doing stuff, and she's the one, she caused the fucking problem.
Yeah. And
so it was unbelievably selfish of her, because it was about proving her point. Because if it was about her, because if she actually gave, she wouldn't have fucking done that. She would have, like, helped, with the research side of it all. But it felt like she wanted to be proven right more than anything.
Yeah.
And that really was fucking annoying to me.
Yeah, because I think that I think that's exactly what Jeff was also getting at, was that like, if she really cared about, like, not, like, saving her planet and stuff, she wouldn't have done a thing that directly damaged her planet.
Yeah.
Like I said, set off a nuke in order to prove nukes are bad.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, yeah. I think that what also bothered me about this, not to, go into feminism corner for a sec, but is, like, they made the female character reacting like emotions, and the men had to be like, oh, we gotta think about it logically, but this woman, she's fired up. And I mean, they don't say that obviously, but that's I think that
they unfortunately
these writers
into the stereotype.
Yes, they keep fucking doing this. They don't outwardly be like, they did this with the Loxana episode as well. It's like, they're not outwardly being like, hey, woman story or woman issue or whatever, but they're still doing it, and it bothers me a lot. They were like, this woman, it was her emotions got so big, she had to follow it and do this to prove her point. And it's like,
these are the people writing this have definitely not examined their own internal biases towards women.
So it does suck that this just, to me, screamed, oh, this is a emotional woman.
Yeah, they tried to counteract it with like, oh, she's so brilliant. She's so smart that no one else understands, like, her research and stuff, which I also thought was, like, stupid, because I remember the brother was like, it took me 2 years of study just to understand the basic concepts of her work. And then they explain it pretty simple, like, in pretty simple terms later on.
Yeah, like, is Rabal dumb? Why would it take them 2 years for them to explain? And they explained it to us really easily.
Yeah.
All you had to do is, the warp is causing instability, and it could be bad. And he's like, it took me 2 years to understand this.
Yeah, also, okay.
Girl, it's a sentence. What are you talking about?
Also, okay, he says, I'm realizing this now, he says, it took me 2 years to understand this shit. And it's like, so in that 2 years, like, she could have put in a request to the Federation Science Council and have gotten a team there by now. In the time it took for you to, like, struggle with trying to convince people, you could have put in your proposal and had the science team there. Like, why don't you put in your...
definitely.
Like, put in your request, and then while you're waiting, also try to get people to care about this sooner, you know?
Yeah, because even, like, I think Jordy mentions this, like, what if the Fleming was responding to an emergency?
Yeah.
And this stopped them and then people could have died. What if because they were medical transport, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this actually could have been actually really, really bad situation. She's like, well, it didn't. It's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
It could have. You don't know what's going on these ships while they're traveling.
Yeah.
And like this is...
And I know the argument a person could make is that, like, oh, well, you know, a few, like, maybe, like, a few individual lives would have been risked, but this is, like, an entire planet, an entire thing going. But what if they were on a mission to help an entire planet or an entire star system?
Yeah.
Like, it could have affected just as many, if not more, lives as you're trying to deal with, right? Like,
yeah.
So, because I don't necessarily, like, have an issue with, like, because stuff like this has come up before where it's like, oh, but you risked this many lives. It's kind of a trolley problem sort of deal. It's like, well, I'm trying to do a thing that's important on a much larger scale than this, which is like, we can have like a nuanced debate about it, right? But the scale on which she's risking lives can potentially be just as big a deal as what she's trying to do. Like, what if that ship was trying to, like, get a fucking, medication for, like, an outbreak of a disease that's going to wipe out an entire planet, and they don't get there in time and all those fucking people die. Is their whole planet, like, worth less than your whole planet? Like, it's just the like, risking something smaller to, although, like, it's a nuanced conversation, right? Like, I don't think there's
I think part of it is also, like, what gives her the right to decide that her planet, which she then fucking still endangers and is now going in that direction. It's like,
the risk,
you're making a choice for a point.
Yeah.
You don't, it doesn't feel like you really give a shit.
Okay, I think I can explain.
Well, she does give a shit. I think she does give a shit. Sorry, I'm not, but it's just, it's frustrating that.
Yeah. So, like, a more, I think this is, like, the scale is obviously different, but I think this will parallel the situation. Like, this will explain more what I mean. Is there was a relatively recent thing of, like, environmental protesters throwing paint on the Mona Lisa and stuff like that, right? So that is, like, a lot of people were outraged by that, but it's like, this painting, which is behind glass anyway, right, is not more important than, what's going to happen if we don't deal with climate change right now, So I think, like, that's what they were going for in this episode, but unfortunately the risks are not, it's not the same as, like, it would be more akin to, like, what would it be more akin to? It's like, okay, I'm going to blockade the shipment of food to a starving nation, like that, like, in order to protest climate change. Like, that is not, I don't think that's acceptable to make your point, throwing like, damaging a painting, no matter how much historical significance it has, is not, like, you know, is not a big deal compared to what they're protesting. But what they're doing in this episode, I think, is more akin to my other example of, like, blockading food to a starving nation, you know, where it's like, I understand what point you're trying to make and that this is a hugely consequential thing, but that form of protest I don't think is acceptable, which I don't think what she is doing is acceptable because of the risks they mention in the episode. If that makes sense. If
Yes. No,
Yeah.
100% makes sense.
Yeah, I think I understand. I mean, there's a whole discussion to be had about, like, what is effective and what is not effective protest. And unfortunately, in this day and age, protest in many parts of the West has been effectively neutered
Yeah.
as the kind of thing that, oh, well, you should protest in this designated protest zone and,
Yeah.
you know, get absolutely nothing out of it whatsoever. And then when people block a highway or something like that, you get a bunch of, like, assholes on the internet complaining about how, oh, this isn't how to get support for your protest. And I'm like, actually, yes, it is.
Yeah.
This is exactly how to get support.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can also make you could make an argument for the highway that, like, you know, what if someone is in an emergency on the highway trying to get somewhere? But I don't think that, I still don't think that necessarily parallels what the risks in this episode. Because,
yeah,
like,
I'm personally tired of that argument anyway,
Yeah.
because, like, I have not heard what do you call it, hospitals talking about instances where there was, like, a genuine you know, like, hippie-ish kind of protest for something like this that actually, like, blocked them from getting where they needed to go.
Yeah, exactly. So the point I want to get across, though, is that, like, protests are supposed to be disruptive. They're supposed to be inconvenient because they're supposed to, the point of them is to draw attention to a situation a lot of people
That's
are
right.
not paying attention to. So I don't disagree with disruptive protests and disruptive tactics on, like, a general level. But I think the tactics in this episode, specifically what they were doing, was not, I don't think it was great.
Right, which we did go over,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to establish that, like, this is not coming from a place where I don't think people should be disruptive during protest. Like, I fully think they should be, but I don't think that the tactics displayed in this episode are a reasonable level of disruption. Because if you're blocking a highway, there's other ways to get around. There's other roads. You know, this corridor is literally the only way to get through this section of space. All right. I think we've exhausted that point, so I think it's fair to move on to favorite moments and lines.
I don't know. Spot is cute.
Yeah.
I liked that one part where Data was, like, telling Spot to get off. I liked Spot's is trying to teach Spot up and down, and Data goes, Spot, down. This is down. Down is good. This is up. Up is no. That's it. Spot was very cute.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care for any of this.
Yeah, this episode doesn't have a lot going for it. I thought Spot was cute. I did enjoy, what I found really funny was, when, Data and Geordi were, like, talking, like, later on in the episode, and Geordi's like, oh, how's the training going? And Data's like, you know, oh, it's going well, and he's like, so you've been successful? And he keeps nodding, and he's like, no. Yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly.
My favorite parts of the episode are definitely the apple juice for half price. For people who do not know, there's a meme that went around, like, God, 10, 15 years ago now, done by a couple of guys up here in Canada, actually. It became popular on YouTube-ish. Like, I don't know, it got like 1.5 million views or something like that.
It was a bad lip reading thing.
Yeah, it was bad lip reading of parts of Star Trek, and these guys did like lip readings for fun. The guy was like an audio engineer, and they just kind of did this because they're like, I don't know, let's make stupid jokes. And their most popular one by far was a series of clips straight from this episode, and it is basically the two of them lip reading absolute nonsense that has no business being funny. And for some reason, our little friend group just could not get enough of it for a while.
Yeah, because
and it is still ingrained in my mind.
Yeah, because one part of it was like, I think it was Worf that they lip read his lines as like apple juice half price.
Oh no, the apple juice for half price I think is something that Geordi says. Worf's was what if we make apple juice and fax it to each other?
Yeah. Didn't you say the guy that made it is like a 9/11 truther or something?
He actually passed away about 1.5 years ago.
That...
yes, he's he absolutely was a 9/11 truther.
Yeah.
When I met him, because I went to film school with his sister actually. So when I met him like in person, I was like, oh my god, you're the guy behind the Day Job Orchestra videos. Your stuff's really funny. It's really stupid and I love it. And he's like, oh yeah, great. We do it just for shits and giggles. And he was wearing a shirt that said Bush did 9/11, I believe. Not as a meme. Like this was before the Bush did 9/11 as a meme. This was a genuinely he believed that. And I was like, okay.
Oh.
Well,
sorry,
we're off to a good start.
It was just really funny the way you answered, because I'm like, oh, wasn't he a 9/11 truther? And he's like, actually, he died. I'm like, what?
He died during the pandemic, which definitely nothing would have been suspect between the people who agreed with him and that, because of course he was also skeptical of that whole thing. But yeah, he got into a lot of conspiracy theories. 9/11 truthing was just one of them.
Yeah, I mean, conspiracy theorists they're not only into one thing usually.
That's true, yeah. He wasn't like a far-right conspiracy theorist. He was more of like a hippie conspiracy theorist.
No, this is... But
he had an extreme distrust of authority, which is not an unhealthy thing to have.
Yeah, this was back in the day when conspiracy theorists were like actually fringe, and they were... The flavor of conspiracy theorists nowadays is just so much different than what it was.
Yes, it certainly is.
Because like a lot of like... There were a lot of people who were like, they were just normal ass people, treated people in their lives super normal, but then it turned out that they were like, oh, the president's a lizard actually. And you're like, okay. And it was like just a quirky thing about them. Although, like, don't get me wrong, there were still really fucked up, like, conspiracy theorists, because all this shit always leads to anti-Semitism, basically. it just always leads there. Yeah.
Classic.
I'm not saying that guy was in that realm of things, but I don't want to make the impression, I don't want to give the impression that like that there was a time when like these conspiracy theorists were like just that they weren't dangerous or whatever. Like there were always those people, but it was like
the internet has helped pushed it into the limelight, and for worse.
Yeah, it was like 5 guys in Nebraska that, believed some weird shit. That's what it used to be. And now it's more mainstream, which makes it more dangerous. But but there was a time when like someone when it was more fringe, and that someone having these weird beliefs like really wasn't impactful on the broader community.
Yes, definitely so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes and no. There were still things like oh geez, what is
I don't know how to explain it, but like
Yeah, the guy that that did the Boston Marathon bombing, for instance, was inspired by conspiracies about Waco.
Yeah.
So, like, stuff like that.
Oh, no. Do you mean the Oklahoma City bombing?
Sorry, yes, I do.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah,
My mistake. Yeah. No, the Boston Marathon was the Unabomber, right?
No.
No.
Okay,
Unabomber's
well,
No, Boston
look.
Marathon was like,
It was like two brothers or something.
yeah, that
Right.
was like,
Look, guys, there's way too many bombers in the United States for me to remember them all.
yeah.
On a side note, I saw a comment on TikTok recently. This just reminded me, and it was like, we wouldn't even know that Americans go to school except for the amount of school shootings there are.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's fucked up, but, you know,
It just reminded me, just Americans shootings.
yeah. Yeah, the Unabomber was, I think he did like letter bombs or something. And yeah, he was also a guy that was like had a weird conspiracies. He was actually it was Ted Kaczynski, I believe. He was actually a really
I think you're right.
He was a mathematician that did like that had some important he did some important mathematics work. So sometimes he's still cited in mathematics papers because of his research.
Yes.
Also, interesting thing is that he was really fucking pedantic about a certain like idiom, and that's how he was identified because his brother-in-law recognized that he worded a certain idiom a certain way.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I forget what it was. What was it? It was like, I don't think this was it, but it was something like "have your cake and eat it too," or some shit like it was a phrase like that. That he was really pedantic about it because it was like, well, actually, this wouldn't, if you wanna say this, you should actually say it this way and whatever. I wish I could remember. Anyway, what were we on about? It was like, oh yeah, conspiracy theorists. It's just like if you ever watched the original King of the Hill, it was like Dale Gribble. It was like just
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, this guy has like some wacky ideas, but it's not. It's just like, oh, that one guy is crazy. It wasn't an automatic like, oh, that like this guy is into some like ultra nationalist like super white supremacist bullshit. I don't know. Maybe it's just we didn't see the inherent danger in those beliefs back then. Maybe that's what it was.
No, it isn't that. It's that the internet has made it possible for these beliefs to find audiences in ways that they were never able to before.
True.
So they did remain relatively fringe back then. Even though there were just as many dangerous ones, there weren't as many people believing it because there weren't ways for these people to find each other.
Yeah, that's true. On a semi-related note, I will. Oprah is bad actually, because she platformed a lot of things. Mainly, she platformed Jenny McCarthy when she was still like the face of the anti-vax movement, and she platformed like a lot of other people that have just made life shittier. Like she platformed Dr. Phil. I think she platformed like Dr. Oz and stuff.
Ugh.
So, yeah. I'll never forgive her for that shit. Anyway, we've gotten quite off the rails. It's time for predictions for the next episode. So I'm going to read off the Netflix description. So, Dory, the next episode is called Inheritance. And your tidbit is, on a Federation planet, Data encounters a woman who claims to be his mother, the former wife of his creator.
Sure, Jan.
Dory?
Okay. Okay, what am I predicting here exactly?
So,
Because that seems like kind of the plot of the episode.
yeah. Do you think that she's telling the truth? Do you think there is a twist in what she's saying?
I think yes. I think she is telling the truth, but I think there is a twist in what she is saying. I think there's like a technicality. Because also, just because someone is married to your, parent doesn't mean, like, that's strange for her to say she's Data's mother just because she was married to. I don't think she gets to decide that. I feel like the child gets to decide how they see that person, not the adult.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of, like, alternatively, like, if she's lying, what would she even have to gain from Data? What would she think, like, Data would be doing for her? Is this, like, she wants to, like, get to know Data situation?
Yeah.
Or she's, like, trying to see him as, like, the last bit of what's left of Dr. Soong, but... Or, in theory, this could be a setup by Lore.
Could be.
I could see Lore find if this is if she is really like the ex-wife of Dr. Soong, I could see Lore, tracking her down to maybe try to get Data there. As honestly at this point, I wouldn't put anything past Lore. Cause see, I think that like what is there to. Like, why lie? Like, what is there to gain from lying about that? Like, it's not like what would she think Data would do for her or whatever? If to know, I think Data will just be like, okay, and
Yeah.
like
I'll be honest. This episode is not. It is very much more of a character episode. There isn't really a lot of plot, I would say.
okay, well, I like a character episode.
Yeah.
So, okay, I do think she's telling the truth. But I either think that this is a Lore setup to get Data there, or this is maybe actually, but okay, I'm gonna guess that they find each other accidentally. And once Data likes the idea of like. Because we know he's been leaning into, more human stuff, and maybe this is like an attempt to like experience having a mother in real life. Because he didn't really get to have parent time per se. So maybe this is like, this is a chance to experience, in theory, familial love, because we know he's not getting anything from Lore. So, okay, we're going to go optimistic, and we're going to say that she genuinely wants to get to know Data, and this is maybe the last bit of Dr. Soong, and this is what she's got to hold on to, but, like, Data is actually interested in learning about Dr. Soong and learning about her, and wants to try out being someone's child for a bit. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. That feels so weird.
Yeah. I think that's enough. I think we're good. Okay. All right. So, if you want to see if Dory's right, if you want to experience a Data character episode, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional AT&G Podcast.
Goodbye.